Hey YouTubers, XD Shooter here with you. Kind of going against my name here. This is the Keltec P11, and picked this up really reasonable. A friend of mine is a federal firearms dealer, and bought the gun for, I think it was $265, tax included. So what I did is I started looking for some ways that I could personally make this pistol better. And the great thing about Keltec, it's a cheap pistol, but it's also an easy pistol to work on. And so what I'm trying to accomplish is to create a better shooting gun out of a cheap gun for concealed carry. And this is the profile of this firearm is really small. It fits in my hand much better. And I've also got the baby brother, the Keltec P11, and that's a good little gun, good little 380. I've got the belt clip on there, allows me to pretty much tuck that anywhere. I mean, I go out wearing a pair of shorts, and I've got a firearm I can easily conceal. So basically what I want to do is I just want to show you some of the modifications that you can make if you want to improve your P11. So as you can see here, the firearm is clear. Obviously, you know, always when I do a video I make sure it's unloaded and there's no ammunition anywhere close by. Breakdown of this particular firearm, you put it at battery, engage the slide lock. I've got a little tool here that I use, as a titanium bar that I have. Basically, you can use a case rim or whatever you want to use for removing this pin. This pin comes out, as you'll see, it kind of lets the barrel flop free. Hold on to the slide itself as you release the slide release, and then that just slides right off of there. So you've got your slide assembly and your frame slash grip. I guess they call this the grip. The frame is actually interior. But what I want to show you guys is there is a Keltec owners forum that you can go to on the internet, and I'll put that that information in the video here so you can see that. I did a couple different things. I took a Dremel tool, and inside the slide here, this portion right here is what contacts the hammer and resets the hammer. That was just kind of, I don't know if you want to call it parkerized or blue, whatever, when I first purchased the pistol. So what I did is I went in, I took some 1000 grit sandpaper, and I sanded it in the direction that the slide travels on the gun. And then I took my Dremel tool with some it's actually called Simichrome polish. Used it when I was a police officer to polish brass and, you know, buckles and that sort of thing. But it also works really well because you can polish things to a high gloss, and then, you know, obviously put some oil on there. That's not all you do. Also, you'll notice that the barrel of the gun here is, I've also polished that, and I'm going to break this down a little bit further. I am waiting for a back ordered part, and that there is a metal guide rod for this gun. This is the plastic one that came with it, that came standard, as well as the slide spring, recoil spring, whatever you want to call it. The barrel comes out here, and you'll notice the barrel is really a matte finish when you get it. And so what I did was, again, 1000 grit sandpaper, lightly sanded in the direction that the gun functions, and then I just put a high polish on it with the Simichrome and a felt wheel with my Dremel tool. You'll notice here that there, you know, this ramp is pretty well polished. It's got a high mirror finish to it, and I also polished the underside of the ramp here, and then the entry right around where the round enters the chamber when you send the slide forward. So that really made a difference with the chambering of just about anything. I've shot Blazer through this. I've shot you know, quality ammunition as far as the carry ammunition that I have, which is Spear Gold Dot, 115 grain. But this thing will chamber just about anything. I've shot some Blazer ammunition with the aluminum casings, and it takes those too. So other things that you can do, depends on how comfortable you are with taking apart firearms. Like I said, this is very easy. In here is your firing pin, and there's a screw right here that you can back out. Keep your hand over the end here when you do that if you're going to do it. Back this out. It allows the firing pin to come free. There's a spring and a firing pin that come out of the slide assembly. And then what you can do is, I did the same thing, not to the high degree of polish, but the firing pin within here, as it runs back and forth, has been sanded in the direction of motion. Take all the, just lightly with 1000 grit sandpaper to take all the burrs and stuff like that off of there. And also this file is a very fine, I call it a rat tail file. It's a small file made by Stanley, I believe. But I just went in there and I just lightly scrubbed the inside of the firing pin sleeve and made sure that there was no burrs in there. And then I ran a Q-tip with some cleaning solution on it in there to remove any of the loose debris that you know was in there. So then oiled the firing pin assembly. Also on here, you're going to have some blue Loctite. Set that. There's instructions on that site, the Kel-Tec Owners Forum, that shows how to do that. But what that does, and if you're not comfortable with that, like I said, don't do it. But what that does is it reduces your, what do I want to call it, your light strike, I guess is what you would call it. The light strike on the some of the Blazer ammunition especially won't ignite the primer because they've got some harder primers. That's, you know, some of the stuff that you can do to the firearm. They call it a fluff and buff. The other thing that I did was I just lightly took some 1000 grit sandpaper, sanded this surface, the inside of the slide rails, the breech face here, I sanded that just lightly. Take any burrs off of there, just any place where there's contact. They recommend that you stay away from removing any material from this. This is an aluminum frame, and it can affect the way the weapon fires and performs. So the other thing you'll notice that I did here is I added, instead of the Hogue grip, I love Talon grips, and I'll put that address on here as well. I ordered my Talon grips, I believe it was on a Monday, and I had them on a Thursday in my mailbox. I ordered them for this and also for the XD 9 or 40 caliber that I have. So real easy to apply, but it just gives the gun a really nice feel, makes it a lot more controllable. This thing, if anybody's ever shot one, you know, it's a difficult gun to shoot because it's lightweight. It does what it's meant to do. The trigger pull, that's the other thing I wanted to talk about. You'll notice here on the trigger, I did put a trigger boot on here. Kel-Tec makes a trigger boot, and what that does is it makes the trigger wider. There's another thing that I've heard people complain about when they shoot the P11 is that it hurts their finger, and what that does is reduces that because it makes the trigger wider. I don't know how well you can see that, but it makes it wider. The other thing I did is I installed a trigger bump, and I did that with a pencil eraser and some super glue. And I know I've seen, you know, on the comments on people's YouTube videos about, you know, super gluing an eraser to their gun. But I'll tell you what, it really makes a difference on your accuracy at the range with this firearm. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and put this back together and just show you. I know that you're not supposed to dry fire, or Keltec recommends that you don't dry fire their guns. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this together, and I'm just going to show you. I know there's videos on the internet of the trigger bump and how it functions, but, and that's the other thing with reassembling this, sometimes you've got to reach down in here with your thumb and push the barrel forward a little bit so that the pin aligns with the hole. And then basically that pin should go in there easily. It snaps back into place, and cycle it a few times. Make sure that it's good to go. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the trigger. This has got about a 9-pound trigger pull, and you'll see as the trigger comes in contact with that eraser, now you don't have a lot of trigger play in that, and you're able to hold the gun a lot more steady when you're shooting. And it also helps for rapid fire because it helps the trigger reset faster. So with a combination of the Fluff and Buff, the trigger bump, the trigger shoe, and the grip enhancement, this is a really nice addition for a cheap price. I think these grips were $10. The eraser was on a pencil that I already had. The trigger shoe I think was $10, and then whatever it took me in my time to do the rest of it. So you're looking at about a $20 investment on top of the $265 that I had for a 9mm that is a very easy carry. It's something you can keep with you every day. So I hope that was educational for you, and I hope that if there's any questions, obviously you can put it in the comments, and I'll do some more. I've also got some different sites that I think I'm going to put on this too, so that might be at a later date. But look forward to shooting this, maybe getting some video, shooting some steel with it, and doing some self-defense type shooting. So with that, you guys have a good one, and we'll see you soon.